Hello, and welcome to another movie review. Today, I've got the Blair Witch Project. I wanted to. I'm trying to give it a little bit of variety in what I do on the channel. So I'm gonna do a movie that I really like, and then a movie that I don't like. I don't know if I'm gonna continue doing this because doing this movie has been a really pain in the ass for me. This is actually the third time I've tried to do this because the first one was fine, but it had too many fucking technical issues to actually use it, and I just didn't like the way I did the second one. So I'm trying it one more time, and hopefully this one works, and people get to see it. All right, the Blair Witch Project released in 1999. It had 2 years in production, and initially was a very big success due to its run through Sundance, and then eventually it was bought very shortly after its original release, was bought by a publisher that I don't know the name of. It's actually not even on the fucking box. Lionsgate is on the box, but that's not the publisher that shows up at the beginning of the movie. I don't remember what the name was. I'll put it up when I get little screenshots. It was sold for $1.1 million. All right. So I'm going to do a short, hopefully relatively short synopsis of everything that happens in the movie, and then I'll get to why I don't like it. Okay, movie starts out. A couple of college students filming a documentary about the Blair Witch, which is a local legend of this small town in, I believe it is Virginia. I may be wrong about that. I'll put that up too. First thing they do is they start doing some interviews with some locals in the town. First, and according to the Wikipedia page for this movie, a couple of the people in the town were actually real citizens of the town, and most of the people were paid actors that would discuss the local legend with them, the Blair Witch, and tell them where they could go, like this little graveyard that they look for when they eventually go out in the woods. They just have small discussions with one woman who actually claims to have seen the witch, and just various little things like that to kind of set the scene for the movie. All right, now it's time to go into the woods. Time to go into the woods and basically look for the witch. Look for evidence of the witch. First, initially, when they're going through the woods, they have this little map that they're trying to use. Just a basic geographical overlay of the area to help them get around. They're looking for a certain site that they are calling, I believe they called it a graveyard. Now, the graveyard, as they call it anyway, eventually when they do find it, just happens to be just a couple of like little rock piles that is kind of put in a weird circular fashion in a way that it looks like it could be somehow generally associated with witchcraft or something. Just basic scenery, setting the scene still for what is to come. Shortly after this point, they're scared awake in the night by monsters in the woods, basically. Now, this is, I guess, supposed to be scary because it's all shot through their point of view. At the time, they were really trying to pass this movie off like it was real. This was the first found footage film. They're scared by, I think it's something that comes up to the tent and like slaps at it. So it's like there's some creature or something outside the tent that's trying to get into it and trying to get them, and it scares them. And from after this point on, they're lost. It seems to me after they went past like the graveyard area that's a bunch of stones, that they're caught in some sort of interdimensional loop or something. I don't know a better way to state that. Like they've gone into another realm of reality that they can't escape from, which is a creepy idea. And I think that's what we're trying to get across, but I'm not sure. It doesn't really matter. The characters grow more and more agitated as they've been out in the woods for a longer period of time, and eventually they lose the map and they have a really heated argument about this, mostly centered around, I believe, the character's name is Mike. Mike intentionally got rid of the map, I think it was. I think he said he saw it laying next to the river or something and decided to just kick it in because he thought it was useless. And all the two other characters were really pissed off at Mike because he did that. After this point, when they lose the map, they decide that because they have a compass, they're just going to follow the compass south. And if they do that, they go in a straight line. And now this is why I have the theory that they're in some sort of some sort of interdimensional reality, because they can't escape from this. And their idea is solid: just follow the compass and just go south, and eventually you're gonna hit something. Eventually you're gonna hit a road, you're gonna hit another small town, you're gonna find a house, you'll find another person that will be able to help you get away. You'll find, they're out in the woods, so a ranger station, something that will help you escape. But this doesn't work. Beyond this point, they're kind of just going in circles somehow. They come across the same couple of things over and over again. They come across the rock pile, they come across this downed tree that they've seen again and again and again, and they realize, or they start to realize, that there's no way that they're going to get out of this situation. Everything starts to break down. All the characters are experiencing high anxieties and basically at this point have almost given up. But they're still trucking through it. They're still doing everything that they can, or everything that they think they can do to escape. Now, after they've kind of seen that there's no way that they're going to leave, they come across this area of the woods, which is a new area to them, that has these little wooden dolls hanging in the tree. There's one on the box art. It's very small, you can't really see it, but if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. The little wooden, almost like wicker dolls. I don't know if that's probably not the proper term for it, but, and I'll put a picture of that up too. And they're very afraid of these. This is something else that they've seen that seems as though it would be associated with witchcraft. And after this point is where everything for them kind of ramps up for getting scared during the night. At one point, they're even just something attacks the tent again, and there's all kinds of weird animal noises and stuff that's being played in the background. And two of the characters, Mike and Heather, run out of the tent. And this is the point in the film where Josh, which is their blonde friend, disappears. They get up the next morning after hiding in the woods, hiding from the creature or whatever it was that seemed to be attacking them, and search for Josh for all of the next day, but are completely unsuccessful. I think at one point with this, they even talk about how they walked for 15 hours that day. They searched for Josh for a very long time and are unable to find him. The next morning, after they made camp for that night, the next morning, Heather goes outside and discovers a bundle of sticks that, again, is another thing that kind of looks like it would be associated with witchcraft. It's just a gross bundle of sticks put together, tied up with Josh's clothing. And now when she opens this, she discovers it almost looks like a little baggie, but it's a little baggie that's made out of the shirt he was wearing, the plaid shirt that he was wearing. I put this on because this movie was made in the fucking 90s, and I thought I'd try and get in the spirit a little bit. Maybe it would help me power through this and do a good job. Anyway, in this little bundle, this little bag, she finds like blood and hair and teeth and like maybe part of a tongue or some sort of organ or something. So she's really freaked out by it, and she definitely at this point thinks something has killed Josh. Something has killed their friend, or at least hurt him. And for whatever reason, I guess not wanting to further upset him, she doesn't let Mike know that she found this, but this is ultimately completely inconsequential. Past this point, I think they camp maybe one more time, and then it's either they just decide to continue on to the night, or they camp one more time. I don't fucking remember. And they end up following Josh's voice during the middle of the night. He's out in the woods somewhere, and he's calling for them. He's leading them somewhere. They get led to this old home. Now, this old home was actually mentioned to them by one of the residents of the town, paid actor, what the fuck ever. Told them a story about a child killer who lived in this house that's just out in the middle of the woods close by to some old quarry or something, which I don't know that this is mentioned in the movie either. But with the home's actual location, it's located near some old mine or quarry or something, and the house, I believe, historically is actually associated with the mine. Anyway, they get to this home and are searching through it to find Josh. And after looking on the upper floors, they don't find him, but they think that they're hearing him in the basement. So Mike, being really stressed out and crazy and I guess all excited at the same time, runs down into the basement to see if Josh is there. And now as soon as he gets into the basement, he's attacked off screen by some monster, something, we don't know what it is. And then he's followed closely by Heather down into the basement, who is also attacked off screen after getting a shot of him standing in the corner just staring at a wall. And now when I brought up the story before, this is because the child killer, this is how he would do it. This is how he would kill the children. He'd lure them into the basement and he would attack one and scare them and make them just stare at the wall, and then I guess kill whoever else came down there. Somehow this always ends up being in groups of 2. Doesn't really make any fucking sense, but whatever. Okay, so we've got a general synopsis of the movie done. Didn't take very long. Nothing really important happens in this movie. It's mostly just people wandering through the woods. Now, I want to kind of talk about the marketing strategy behind this movie. The marketing strategy is actually pretty unique. It's the only movie that I've ever heard anything like this from. I mean, you see a lot of movies like Texas Chainsaw Massacre when it originally came out that says, like, based on a true story, you know, which the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is not based on a true story. It's very loosely based upon the serial murders of Ed Gein, which are really nothing like anything that happens in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's an exploitative strategy, but it is not nearly as an exploitative strategy as what the Blair Witch Project did. The Blair Witch Project had the actors of the movie listed as missing, presumed dead for the first year of its lifetime, when it was first year of after publishing it for it being sold, and when it was shown in Sundance. The names of the actors on the credits were listed as presumed dead, trying to pass this off as real. And I don't like that. I don't really like that. It's exploitative, and it's a lie. And the way I feel about this is, if this really happened and these people were really dead, that's fucked up that you would publish that. That's fucked up. Like, it being a phenomenon somewhat based on that is really screwed up. Not only it being the first found footage film, why would you go see a movie where people actually died? I don't want to see people really die. That's not what I'm into. I want to see an entertaining movie that, on the surface level, that's all it is. It's just entertainment. But people seeing this in 1999 would have had a completely different feeling about that. I would have left this movie, of course, knowing that it was fake, but at the same time, not liking that I'm being told that it's real. That doesn't fly with me for some reason. I guess I'm a fucking dildo and I'm too good for that. Alright, okay. That's all I really had to say about the marketing strategy. Now I'm just going to kind of do a little bit about why I don't like this movie. This movie is it's really poorly shot. It's nothing but fucking people walking around in the woods. For some reason, I mean, I know this is supposed to be like an avant-garde thing, and what they were trying to do with this was just, they want it to look like a college film project, basically. It's not supposed to look professional, but I don't think it looks professional enough. Everything's too dirty. All the shots are grainy, and the way the movie is actually presented at the end is in this tiny little box. And this would be a little bit different on a CRT when the movie first came out. It would be a little bit different. But, I mean, I'm the kind of person that fucking gets, like, annoyed by, like, the little black lines that'll show up in the top and bottom of a screen for, like, a theatrical release. I don't like that. I want just, like, a standard definition. I paid for the whole fucking TV. Put it on the whole fucking thing, please. The main fan theory behind this movie is that the only problem is collective hysteria. So, as they're wandering through the woods and they become more emaciated and tired and angry at each other over time, they all go a little bit crazy. Makes sense, except, like I said, it seems to me like they are trapped in some sort of interdimensional vortex or something where they're cut off from the rest of reality. Because how else in this film universe would you explain them following a compass south continually and just coming across the same places over and over and over again? How are they walking in circles by walking in a straight line? Something with that does not make sense if collective hysteria is the main bad guy in the movie. And on the Wikipedia page, at one point the directors talk about how they did actually plan to have a witch in the movie, which really would have made it a lot better for me. If you gave me a monster, I probably wouldn't hate them. There's one point where they're coming out of the tents in the morning, and one of the characters acts like they see something. They are like, what is that? And when this scene happens, the art director of the movie was off screen, dressed in long johns with like pantyhose on his head, which was something that they planned on using as the Blair Witch or as some sort of woodland critter monster. I really think that if they were going to put that in the movie, they really needed to dress this fucker up a little bit more. The description on the wiki does not cut it for me. That if that had been the final product of the witch, I don't know if I would have been able to get along with that. But that too, what I'm saying is that too kind of discredits the whole fan theory for me. Like, if the directors had planned at some point to have a witch, then collective hysteria is not what they were going for. Collective hysteria is just a byproduct. Now, the ending of this movie was pretty interesting, but like I said, you never actually see a witch. You never actually see a monster. I'm never actually given anything to be afraid of. I only see 3 scared college students, teens, whatever the fuck they're supposed to be, uncomfortable on a camping trip. That's all this movie was. Camping trip fucking gone wrong. I think I've even seen something where somebody made a comment synopsis of this video where this is just a safety video on how to not get lost while camping. But they don't actually give you any proper pointers on how to camp better. Those issues, and then the last one is, if this movie was only 30 minutes long, it would be so much better. If we cut everything down that we have here into just a 30-minute movie that it doesn't outstay its welcome, because that's what it did for me. A lot of things, I find a lot of video games to be way too long. I like my entertainment to be fucking short and quick and to the point. My favorite horror games are like Silent Hill and Resident Evil games that you can beat in like 4 or 5 hours. I like it quick and to the point. And this game and this movie was definitely not quick. It was an hour and a half long, and it was an hour and a half long where really only like 2 or 3 significant things happened, and everything else was just three characters fighting in the woods. I don't understand what's so scary about it. I don't get it. Unless we're really basing it being scary as in it was the first of its kind. People hadn't seen anything like this before. Therefore, they were more gullible, more pulled into the belief that it was real. And like I mentioned earlier, I still think that is gross. I mean, I'm just not okay with the thought that these people were actually harmed during this, and then you sold it. I don't like that. For some reason, this is a social phenomenon. Was a social phenomenon. I don't know that people really give a shit about the fucking Blair Witch Project anymore. But if you have and you like it, that's your own opinion. Good for you. My opinion is that this movie's fucking garbage. It's avant-garde fucking drivel. And just because it was the first of its kind to do this does not mean that it did it well. This movie is not entertaining. This movie was an hour and a half of my life wasted. Guys, if you like this video, like it. And consider hitting that subscribe button. Tell me what you think of the Blair Witch. Bye-bye.